What's going on, guys? Junior's Fishing Company. No tying today. Another FYI. So a ton of the videos that I've done have been on just traditional. Some of them have been tungsten ties, but I almost prefer lead. That's for another video. But almost every single jig you buy is going to have a bait keeper on it, whether it's for live bait or plastics keeper, right? They're all going to have them on. And there's a couple different ways that I get these off effectively without, or trying your best not to chip any paint or to leave any sharp wires behind that's going to cut your thread. So the first one I've got here is kind of the easiest one to get off, in my opinion. This is an 1/8 ounce. I think this is just a VMC black and orange and white jig. So it's got a really long bait keeper. If you have a really long bait keeper, they're usually easier to get off because that just leaves you more room to bend. And so what I'll do with something like this is I'll just take my thumb and I'll just press it up. And this is pretty soft metal. And so I'll bend it as far up as I can go, making a 90-degree angle with my hook. And then I'll just push it this way and that way, this way and that way. So I'll just push it as far down this side as I can, and then I'll come back up. And sometimes it takes 2 turns and it'll pop off. Sometimes it'll take 6 or 7, but that'll pop right off and it leaves no sharp metal at all. So that's the best way to get these off. The second way, if you have, this is a 1 ounce Genco jig hook. These are massive jigs, but you can see the 2 bait keepers on here are a lot shorter, and so it makes it a little bit trickier to get them off. I'm going to do the same method of twisting it off, but I've got this little, it's not a sewing needle, it's like a crochet thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, instead of breaking my nail, I'm just going to take this carefully with the hook, and I'm going to push under that bait keeper as far as I can, just to get it up a little bit. And then I usually can take my finger, and again, these ones are really tough, so you're going to want to be careful when you don't want to necessarily use your nail, but you really don't have to get it perfectly 90 degrees. Something like this is plenty far, where then I can twist one way, twist the other way, and again, sometimes they pop right off, and sometimes they take a little bit of effort to get off. And I already painted this, so I'm working around some paint too. But I'll just twist this back and forth, and it will just come off nice and clean, and it'll get easier as I go. So that came right off. It completely takes away that guard, the bait keeper, and it doesn't leave any sharp edges. So you can use any little metal tool. This is just what I've always used. The third way is what I found. This is a deep V jig from Northland Tackle, and I think they use like vibranium metal. I don't know what they use for this bait keeper, but it is as sturdy as any jig, and good for Northland, right? But I'm gonna pop this open, and I have found that even pushing this up with my little, I'll try and get in the camera, even pushing this up as far as I can and getting that popped up, this is not going to want to go much higher than that. If you do go higher, your paint might chip, or you're going to have like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch of metal that stays on there. So what I'll do, I'll grab my wire cutters, you push it up just a little bit, and you want to cut it as flush as you can to that metal. So you want it to be flush, right? And then I'll put it in my vise. I gotta tighten this up a little bit. Put it in your vise, and what I'll do, I'll just grab the thread I've got near me. I want to push this back down. You can push it back down with like pliers or something like that, but usually I'll just grab my thread, and you can see that it's pressed back down. You can take some UV Cure resin This is Solarez Medium, and I'm just going to put a dab of that right over my sharp point, and I'll cure it. Usually takes, I don't know, 5-10 seconds to cure this stuff. It's a pretty thick gob, so you want to kind of sit it on there for a minute. And then I can just wrap over that and I'm safe to go. But now you don't have to worry about cutting your thread on that sharp point, and you're ready to tie. So those are the 3 ways that I use to get these bait keepers off of your hook. You don't necessarily have to get them off, but they're pretty inconvenient if you're trying to tie around them. If there's anything else that you've seen, questions that you have or anything like that, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. Junior's Fishing Company. We'll see you on the next one.